in this episode.
One thing I also tell people is I'm not really a gun guy. You know, I have a couple of rifles, a few shotguns. I have 2 Glocks because you got to have backups.
Yeah.
But like I'm not. You're never gonna find me like, oh my god, the new pee pee poo poo from SHOT Show. Pee pee poo poo Dynamics just released a new pee pee poo poo pistol. Like I don't care.
In an obtuse world, Mark and Jefe will combine military, law enforcement, and general FUD knowledge to keep you vertical. Welcome to the Live, Laugh, LARP podcast.
Name low, you can't tourniquet a taint. Nice.
Nice. Hey, everybody, what's going on? Thanks for swinging by.
Oh, that was
another edition of Live, Laugh, our podcast. I'm going to leave it in.
Okay.
I'm going to leave it in, and we'll take it from there. But we appreciate you guys swinging by to another edition. I think this is probably going to be a lot of fun in this episode. We've got someone that is, I would say, kind of a bit of an upcomer, especially on Instagram. He does some YouTube stuff as well. He's kind of a bit of a trendsetter. He just said it himself here just a little bit ago, so there is that. But with that being said, my name is Mark. Welcome. We appreciate it. We got the co-host Jefe. How you doing, sir?
Hanging on by a thread. An absolute thread.
Yeah, I tell you had a bad weekend last week. Well, not a bad weekend.
It was a good weekend. It was the worst of times. It was the best of times. No, it was the 4th. So greetings from the past.
Yes.
This is the 8th of July.
Yep.
Everyone's get done with the family vacations. I spent probably like 36 hours trying to finalize some renovations on a bus that didn't come to fruition, but family survived the vacation and everyone had a good time, I think.
The bus is looking good, though.
Oh, thank you.
I will say that the bus is looking good. Yeah. It's coming along. What Jefe is doing is he's converting a full-size school bus into a camper.
Yes.
RV.
I mean, it's the same thing.
But and he's done this. I'm thoroughly impressed. I have told him several times that if he needs help, just call me and I'll come over and help. But he refuses my help, which is
I've
fine.
seen your handiwork.
And so I can bring you beer or something at least.
No, that's fair. Yeah, distract me.
But I've, needless to say, been very impressed with that. With all of that being said, the administrative portion of this podcast real quick. Again, if you guys would take a second and interact with this podcast in any way, shape, or form that you would like.
Hey, we have a comment, don't we?
We do have a comment.
I have no idea who it was from, but you sent it to me.
Yes. I
feel like eons ago when you sent that.
I know. I got to scroll way back in
our conversations.
There it is. It's from Jim. It's from a good friend, Jim. Jim is one of my Clash Bash buddies. We always kind of do a side bet on who's going to be who at Clash Bash. He's taken it a couple of years. I took him this year, so been very, very happy. And Jim says, where else can one listen to a story of someone jacking off a J-frame? On the real, though, this episode was very interesting and a lot of fun. So, and that was referencing Jefe.
Yes,
and
I was jerking off a J-frame during a competition, trying to make it not shoot bullets.
Yeah, he's loving the keyhole shots. Yeah. So, but that's what we do here, guys. If you guys
jerking off J-frames, if you like jerking off J-frames,
let us know about it. We'll read your comment on air just to have a little fun. So we are on YouTube. We are on the Firearms Radio Network. We are on every podcasting service that's out there. Find the one that you like and continue to listen. We'd appreciate it. The next thing is
Atero Arms.
Atero Arms. They're the title sponsor. They're our only sponsor, and that's the way I like it. I really do appreciate those guys over there. He and I actually talked
Jesse?
Yes, Saturday night. I was watching Unforgiven.
Mm-hmm.
I was drinking way too much whiskey.
Okay.
And I just thought about, hey, I wonder what I could get away with a Mosin.
Yeah, that's how, exactly how this all started. How my entire interaction with these guys started. I think they had a picture of a prototype Mosin mount they had.
Yeah.
And then it went to the J-frame mount, and here are no Mosin mounts, no J-frame mounts, no SKA mount, SKS. It's all the same. Just release it.
Well,
the people want it.
He did say that he didn't have a lot of interest in the Mosin mount, so he scrapped it, but he's going to send one of the prototypes for me to do some content.
Oh, yeah, so he sent you a Mosin prototype.
A prototype, yeah.
But he won't send me a J-frame prototype?
Well, look, he likes me better.
That's fair. That's fair. That's why you have the YouTube channel and I'm the B guy.
But again, we do appreciate them and all of their sponsorship.
Yep. Atero Arms, if you are looking for a great way to mount a optic to an AK platform, relatively inexpensive and secured, not having to dogleg anything, Atero Arms is definitely your go-to spot, which actually would be really good for on a civilian PKM. IAR
yeah.
Would be great, and that's going
to tie in well with this episode. So let's get right on into it. We're going to bring in our
guest du jour.
Guest du jour, I guess. Yeah, that's correct. This is Knife Fighter. Do you want us to call us? Want us to call you Night Fighter? Do you want us to call you NF?
Mr. Night Fighter,
Mr. Fighter?
NF?
How do you want to be?
Mr. Fighter of the Night.
You can just call me John.
John. There you go.
John Doe.
Easy,
nice.
Easy enough. So, I've been following you for probably about a year or so now. Enjoy your content. I enjoy your humor most of all. But you're starting to bring up a lot of really key pieces that I think that most people are not thinking about.
Especially with attaching a shotgun underbarrel to a 20-inch AR. So let's talk to us about the real, what everyone really wants to talk about tonight.
Exactly right. we're gonna get to that. But
and when is the Night Fighter 870 attachment kit going to come out?
Did you?
Well, all I have to do is find all of the materials, find somebody willing to mill it. Maybe build a factory. Hire the people that can do it. Just a few small tasks.
Yeah, it's too easy. Yeah, I mean,
just step one, build a company. Step two,
exactly.
Profit.
Yeah.
It's exactly like when people ask me for the build list of the shotgun AR, and I'm like, number one is AR-15, number two is shotgun.
Yep. Number three is what do they call those?
Skeleton clips.
The C clamps.
Skeleton clips.
Yeah, hose clamps.
Hose clamps.
That's all it is. Yeah, hose clamps.
But introduce yourself. Let us know your origin backstory. What led you to this point in your life where you had to influence the masses on how to defend themselves?
Oh, well, I was joking when I said I was a trendsetter. Completely joking.
I don't. I'm going to argue that fact.
You are the recce rifle of 2024.
I would never say that. I would never call myself influencing other people, because I'm just as lost as everybody else. I'm just passing on what I've learned. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean,
so I guess I grew up in a military family. My dad was a Marine for 20 years, moved around a lot. I saw a lot of different parts of this country, grew up playing in the woods, playing war. I shot my first gun when I was like 6 years old, that whole thing. And then I eventually joined the Marine Corps as an infantryman. My first 2 years, I was assigned to a security force unit that assists with presidential security.
Oh,
so
nice.
I got to be around Obama and Joe Biden and various world leaders and leaders of our country. With I had my full kit, loaded gun, everything. Got to do that, and I finished up my last 3 years in an infantry unit. Served as a squad leader there. Attended various courses throughout my time in the Marines. And then when I got out, I worked security for critical infrastructure protection, which is a fancy way of saying, you protect electricity, water, internet, because those are very high value targets for terrorism, and they're also way more fragile than people know.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that, and that was like an armed security gig. Pretty cool job. Got to do like protection for the executives, as well as just the normal employees that go out and do their job every day. and I learned how to do threat assessments, like actually got an official training course on threat assessments for various facilities that the company had. And pretty cool job, because I would work with the lowest level employee, and then I would be in board meetings giving recommendations on security measures for their various installations. So I got to, we called it riding the elevator. Like I was out there on the street with the electricians running, helping them be safe while they're running wire. And then I was up in the high rise with the millionaire board members.
It's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And then after that, I don't advertise this part of my life very much, but I became a police officer, and I've been doing that for 7 years.
Sorry to hear that.
Sorry to hear that. Yeah.
Yes.
It's
tough time.
I'm on year 9, so
it is what it is, but that's the job I've been doing for the past few years. And in terms of my gear and what I do now, I needed a way to make money without having to work a ton of overtime.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah. And so I figured, well, I've been carrying a gun at this point. I was 34 years old at that point when I decided to start this company. And I've been carrying a gun since I was 21 as part of my job, wearing various tactical kit. And I had ideas on how to make my own stuff, and basically just went out and did it. I had a friend that also owned a tactical gear company, and he helped me get started. I don't know if you guys have heard of Microbat Systems.
Nope, can't say I have. No.
Well, that's a new one on me. I'll have to check them out.
He's pretty big within the industry.
Okay.
But he makes a lot of stuff that supports night vision. So you've probably heard of him if you're into night vision. Otherwise, maybe not. But he's pretty big. He lived 5 minutes away from me. So I asked him what I needed. He actually sold me a sewing machine that I still have, told me the materials I needed to get started. And away I went. And I just started making prototypes and moved into selling things after that.
Right on.
But I've heard this new term coming out, like raw dogging. Like you raw dog a flight. I raw dog sewing because I had not a lot of background in any of that, and just started sewing and teaching myself. And within a few months, I started selling things.
I feel like that's how a lot of us get into this. It's just I bought a bunch of stuff, and it kind of all just falls like perfectly together. Yeah. This is being released in August.
Mm-hmm.
So one of our previous guests was the exact same way. He got fired from his job. I was like, well, I'll start 3D printing this stuff, and now he's one of the if not the biggest nylon carbon fiber etching. I don't even know what lasering person in the world.
It's a different type of 3D printing that
shoots lasers at a powder and stuff comes out of it. So
it's not a filament. It's a powder that gets laid down and then gets energized, and it does it on layers. It's really interesting. We geeked out on it pretty bad. So, but
that seems like to be in this industry. It's just, hey, I got sewing machine. I started, I guess, raw dogging a sewing machine, which I would not recommend. No. CDC would not recommend raw dogging sewing machines.
So you've started building some kits, mainly some placards, and then you've adapted some like bandoliers from were they based off of some of the Marine bandoliers that have been issued out, or is it just your own type of design that you've done?
I don't think the military, and this is just splitting hairs, the military's never issued a bandolier officially. It's just what came in the ammo cans.
No, U.S. Army does. We actually opened mine up the other day. It's started to become a hot new item.
Yeah. When I say bandolier, I mean more of the placards. The more of the infantry loadout placards or LBE that has more of the magazine pouches and stuff. I mean, that's kind of one of the ones that I saw here recently. You had this massive like LBE ammo pouch system that you had put together that had a whole bunch of like your med pouch attached to underneath your arm and stuff like that. So I was just kind of interested, where is some of these ideas coming from? Are they just adaptations or improvements upon gear that you've used in the past, or is it just like your mad scientist, weird sciencing it together?
Well, I think part of your first question was, how did I start like I sew gear, but I also put information out, and how did I get to that point?
Yeah.
I've just acquired, a lot of lessons learned. Like I said, I'm 37 years old now. I've been carrying a gun as part of my job since I was 21. I've just learned a thing or two, and that's what influences the designs I make. And the bandolier, like the elastic one I make, I'd say that's more based around or influenced by the bandoliers that you find in the ammo cans out of a USGI can of ammo.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The version 2, bandolier version 2, is the laser cut one that you're talking about.
Okay.
That came from just wanting to give people a multi-purpose setup. So
that looks like a Chi-Com rig, doesn't like?
Well, yeah, I mean, you can use it as a chest rig. You can use it as a bandolier. It's $80. So from that $80, you get essentially a multi-purpose system. So you can, one way that people have set it up is they've put a bunch of saw pouches on it, and it can hold like 18 mags.
Oh.
As a bandolier, yeah. And another thing with my company is all of my gear is geared towards civilians. I don't seek out government contracts. I don't, and I never will. So I wanted to give people something that maximizes their purchase. So you can set it up as a bandolier, set it up as a chest rig, and the most recent improvement I made to it was I added Velcro and retention loops, so you can add placards to it. So you can essentially use it like a thing too that Spiritus makes for their placards.
Mm-hmm.
You can use it that way. I personally think the bandolier version 2 is better than that, but it even has like a row of molly, so you can molly in a pouch as a dangler as opposed to having to Velcro it in. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So you can either molly pouches in, you can add a placard using the Velcro, you can use it as a bandolier, fucking whatever, I sold one to a guy who's a PJ. He uses it completely as a medical rig. So the idea for that was I just wanted to give people a multi-use item for a decent price. And then the Fenris, that is 100%.
Yeah.
That is an offensive rig for totally legal purposes. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
That looks like was it from Heat?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I actually built one of the Heat vests when I started out sewing, and those suck. But yeah, I mean, unless you like mags flopping everywhere. The Fenris was an adaptation of that. Not an adaptation of it, but I understood like, oh, the point of this vest is to conceal a bunch of mags under a garment. But it's really floppy, and the Fenris is not floppy. So you get, 6 mags in the military. 6 mags plus 1 is a combat loadout. You can completely conceal a combat loadout. So that's basically the idea behind that.
And you're just attaching those with clips around the backside of yourself, or is there? I see on the Fenris. Fenris, is that
Fenris? Yeah.
Yeah. There's a couple of female clips on the sides with those. Where those are the intention to just clip to straps or on.
Yeah, it can use any. It seems to confuse a lot of people. It'll fit any chest rig harness that has 1-inch buckles.
Okay. So like if you have strap or X strap or
exactly, yeah. I sell it with the skinny straps, like 1-inch webbing. You can use the Platattack Y Chicom back panel rig that they sell. You can use the Spiritus H harness, the Haley H harness, anything that has 1-inch buckles. Right now I'm using the Suros Operations H harness on mine. So it's just a chest rig. It just, the mags are oriented horizontally on the sides. Other than that, it'll fit any chest rig accessories you have.
And once you finalize this, because this is still kind of in the prototype stage, right?
The newest version is prototyping, but I've made an elastic one for 3 years. That was like my original product.
Okay.
Yeah, the Fenris was the starting block for me.
Okay. And what is that running?
Complete with straps, it's $130 for the elastic version.
Okay.
The new one is going to be all laminate with laser cut moly on the outside and inside. So probably around 180 is probably what that'll be.
Okay. And it's that a lot of people might listen to this and be like, oh man, that's a lot of money. But realistically, when you start stacking it up to some of the other quote unquote big names out there, you're spending over $200 in some cases.
I mean, I feel like the and the best way I'm going to describe it, that heat style bandolier, outside of like maybe like the bank robber or the actual like I guess a couple other companies are making those sort of style chest rigs these days. Most of them are kind of the limited drop companies where they're just doing it for the hype and selling for like $250 and it's like splatter camo just for the clout more than it is a actual effective.
And it's useless.
Yeah, it's the elastic, as you said before. It's that elastic you squat once and half your mags fall out.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to throw shade at those guys. People buy it so they sell it. But like the Fenris, I mean, it's a concealment rig, but you can also use it to plus up a belt kit, which a lot of guys will do. They'll have their belt kit, throw a Fenris over top. It's perfect for that. So even that item is multi-use. So that's another thing I always try to do. I don't sell anything. That's why I only have like 3 products, because I don't try to sell you useless bullshit,
Yeah. It's actually a great way to build a company anyway,
Yeah. And as far as the price, I mean, I'm not the cheapest, but I'm not the most expensive either. So, that's all I can really say.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's you're putting a lot of time and effort into making these things, and these are all handmade. Correct me if I'm wrong, right? You're sewing these yourself. Is that correct?
Oh yeah. One man shop. I do the marketing, the sewing. The when you see a post with actual information on it, that's me making it. Don't have a marketing team or media team or anything like that.
Yeah. So for me personally, I find that to be a little bit worth more than purchasing something from someone that is outsourcing most of the production of it to other companies or even other countries, and then slapping their name on it and saying, you need this because I was in, SWAT T, Special Forces, whatever, so.
Or the people that look at that and say, oh, that's so much money, I can go on Amazon and buy it. And the second they wear it anywhere, it's like remotely kind of crappy, it all falls apart because
that's a factor too, for sure. The other thing too is, you're not just paying me, and this doesn't just apply to me. This applies to any company, because I saw people throwing a fit with Cana Provisions over this too. Is you're not just paying me for the time and materials, you're paying me for the expertise I built to make this stuff.
Correct.
Because if you want to make it yourself, be my guest, but you're going to fork out a few thousand before you get there. Because unless you're a genius, you're not going to make a chest rig that's completely usable the first time. You're probably going to sew something and learn a little bit, and then sew another thing, learn a little bit more. You know what I mean? But like with Cana Provisions, they had a lot of people that were mad about the price of their water pump.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, they have the expertise to build this thing for you. that is good to go from the start. If you want to learn it yourself, great, but the first pump you build is probably not going to be the one you end with.
Yeah. Well, and what's cool about Kenne is Kenne is they started they actually have some pretty affordable stuff outside of that. That's like
absolutely
$900 pump. It's like, if you are a team doing team stuff, and a couple of you guys pitch in like $100-$150, that makes sense. But if you're looking for like the single man option there, I sent it to you, that little, it turns salt into chlorine to clean your water. Like that's only like $100. Like that is a valuable piece of kit for relatively inexpensive. But everyone gets mad about the $600-$700 pump system that's supposed to feed an entire family or team for weeks on end.
Yeah, and you're getting a product that will do exactly what you need it to versus you figuring it all out yourself and probably spending the same amount of money anyway.
Yeah. And on top of that, you're also constantly out in the field at least from your Instagram feed, testing this stuff and, doing the, I guess, research and development on improving it, tightening things up.
If you see me somewhere, I'm wearing my gear.
Yep.
So
it sounds like other people are liking your gear. You said PJ's using it for medical equipment. There's a bunch of other people that are using your stuff, so it obviously works.
Yeah. I don't know what else to say. People seem to like it.
Well, horse is well beaten, but what I think what Mark really wanted to talk to you about, because he's very easily influenced, and I have a little bit of pushback on it, so this is going to be a fun little debate. Let's talk about the IAR. What is it? What are you so jonesing about it? And is this the next recce rifle?
No, it's not the next recce rifle because it's not a trend.
Nothing will replace the recce rifle in our hearts.
Listen, the problem with the whole recce rifle thing is the recce rifle was just a standard rifle. Right. Or at least what a standard fighting rifle should be.
Right. For reconnaissance.
I remember when that whole trend was going on, people started talking about recce rifles and SPRs, special purpose rifles, which I guess really means special purpose receiver when it was originally made, but whatever, special purpose rifle. I've said this for a long time. Those rifles are just standard fighting rifles. The problem is people... 100%. If anything, your 10.5 and 11.5 inch rifles are the special purpose rifles, not the other way around. Because the reason those things are called, they're considered special purpose now because everybody started dick riding Navy SEALs and everybody else who was using very short rifles to do specific roles, specialized roles. That's why those rifles are the special ones, not the longer guns. The longer guns are the general purpose fighting rifles. And so when I finally realized this, I started switching over to 20-inch rifles myself because more velocity. We all agree that civilians will have poor logistics in bad scenarios that may or may not happen. And so with that means that you don't get to choose the ammo that you come across. So you might come across match grade ammo and you might come across Tula and Wolf. But when you shoot it through a 20-inch rifle, you're getting maximum effects out of whatever round you find. And so the problem with the recce rifle craze was not that people were right for the wrong reasons, essentially. Like they got into these guns but they viewed them as special purpose. Oh, well, this isn't the main thing I would carry. No, motherfucker, it should be the main thing you carry.
Should be the shortest you carry.
Yeah. So that was the problem with that. The reason I say it's not a trend with the IAR is because I am not just pushing the IAR. I'm pushing longer rifles in general as a standard of a fighting rifle. And the IAR is now, of course, with our IARs and auto rifles in general, it depends on the model you get. There are some companies like Klein Machine who make rifles that go out to 24 inches. They'll narrow, they'll shorten it up to 18 if you want. Now at 24 inches, that gun might be a little bit too long, my opinion, to be able to have a full gamut of roles that it can fulfill.
Sure.
Might be a little bit too long, but as long as you're not going longer than 20, you're going to be fine. And with the red right hand upper, and before I talk about these uppers, I bought them with every dime of my own money.
Sure.
Cody from Red Right Hand had no idea who I was. I saw this product and I believed in it. And now, of course, since I post about it so much, he and I have some connections. But prior to that, I spent $1,300 of my own money to get this upper.
Yeah.
So the reason auto rifles are great is because they give you the ability to provide high volumes of fire for yourself or your team. But then it can fulfill all the other infantry tasks, which is why I've been doing a lot of CQB videos with these things, because what do you always hear? Like, oh, they're too long for CQB.
Right.
Bullshit.
Yeah.
And not only that, but when I come through the doorway, I'm hitting you with like 3,300 feet per second velocity.
Yeah. I mean, the Marines didn't have a problem with the M16A4s that they were using in Fallujah or Ramadi, I mean, they were still clearing houses.
And this is, and I don't want to go off on a tangent about CQB. Everyone thinks that this world is going to be CQB based if everything goes to hell, where you're going to be clearing buildings by yourself. Which, if you're doing and I like how finally people have recognized, like, use frag a room, man. Just throw a frag grenade in there. Don't go. The amount of bodies it takes to clear a building.
I say maybe or maybe not. Like, do you care about what's in that room?
Yeah, it's if you are,
because you can't always frag the room either. If you care about something in that room, you're not going to frag it.
Yeah, it's in a post-apocalyptic, without rule of law, whatever you're trying to envision here. CQB is probably not going to be. It's probably where you're going to first die. Yeah, it's not going to be something that you're going to be able to do by yourself.
I don't want to clear a room or clear a house if I don't need
to.
Yeah. And then second of all, it's not going to be as. It's much more better if you can frag rooms.
But I mean, obviously, it's situational dependent. If you don't know what's in there,
Well, and to play devil's advocate, yes, a shorter rifle would benefit you in those situations, but only in those situations.
Correct. Yeah. And which with where we live,
and where you live, I'm assuming too.
I'm guessing you're kind of in the Southwest. Is that correct?
Yeah. Arizona.
Right. So you probably, along with us, drive 5-10 minutes and you're out in the desert, you're away from,
buildings,
infrastructure. Yeah. And same with us. I can drive 3 minutes and be in a pasture,
I drive out my driveway, go up a hill, and I can have a mile every direction. I can see clearly.
Yeah. So, that's where I've been really kind of happy to see not only people like yourself. We talked about it off air. Blue Gene Operator has kind of brought it up here recently. He's got some pushback with it. I know that Risky Krisky has talked about it before YouTube nuked his channel. So he still does a lot of stuff over on X and Twitter. But one of the things that I really appreciated was you explaining the why behind all of this, right? So I've done a couple of videos already. I've already talked about kind of my quote unquote general purpose rifle. It's just my 16-inch BCM that I've set up for kind of night vision, but it has a magnifier. So if I need to stretch the legs on it, I could, but probably won't. I also have a Daniel Defense Mark 12. So 18-inch barrel, longer barrel. I shot that in a 2-gun competition a couple months ago and took 5th place when I shouldn't have, when according to the internet, I shouldn't be placing high at all, but I was able to actually clear a shoot house, which is one of the stages, and ran it very, very fast. Now, moving forward, this coming, as we're recording now, I'm going to be doing a video out here in the next few days discussing the infantry automatic rifle, which is what IAR stands for those people that are not in the know. And the way that I have set up my particular rifle, it's a 20-inch barrel. It's not expensive. It's a PSA. It was a PSA assembled upper and a PSA assembled lower. I think I added the A2 stock to it. No, I take that back. I had the lower receiver stripped and I built the lower receiver adding the A2 stock. So it's basically a M16A4 with a 1-to-8 LPVO. And then I have a Franklin binary trigger, but it's their upgraded version. So it's the flat face trigger that's like 4.5 pounds. So now I have a platform that will allow me to shoot easily to 450 yards and probably fairly accurately, not precise, but accurate. And then I also have the ability to suppress, use it for suppressive fire as well. So, and that's kind of the direction that I was going to lead into with my concept of an IAR. And what I appreciated, a lot of pushback. I'm dragging this out, but there's a lot of pushback with Blue Jean Operator. They were like, "Oh, well, I ain't got the money to be wasting ammo like this." That was some of the comments that I saw on his Instagram posts just the other day. And I'm like, "Well, Night Fighter, no. Was it Blue Jean Operator or was it a comment? I think it was a comment that Hopophile made on Blue Jean Operator's post. I think that's what it was. And I replied to Hopophile and said, you need to get some instruction from Night Fighter. He'll teach you how to do it. And he was making a comment about cyclic rates and stuff like that. But talk about that video that you did about the cyclic rates, just kind of a 50,000 foot overview.
Yeah. Well, I want to button up the whole IARs being the recce rifle trend.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
It's not like I was saying, it's not a trend because it's just a rifle at the end of the day. To me, it's the new standard of fighting rifle. So it can perform all the tasks that you need a rifle to do. It just has heat mitigation systems to allow you to increase your rate of fire for suppressive support. Okay, so the reason it's not a trend is because this isn't a specialized system. This is a new standard for what a fighting rifle is. And so moving on to rates of fire.
Well, actually, before we get into that,
okay,
let's do the Ben Shapiro and let's define our terms. What is an IAR, and what are the standards that you are trying to promote with what a fighting rifle is?
Yeah, from your perspective, yeah.
Magnified optic with red dot, or irons, so you can do medium to long range and close up fighting. For me, it's a 16-inch barrel or higher because, like I said, everything below that is specialized. You're building a gun because you're going to do a lot of work. Like if you're going to build a 10.5-inch gun, I consider that the specialized gun. That's the gun you're going to take in and out of buildings all day or in and out of vehicles all day because that's all you're going to be doing. The fighting rifle has a broad range of purposes that it can fulfill up into CQB, although maybe it's not as maneuverable in CQB, it is still very maneuverable. So, all the basic attachments you would put on a light or a rifle, a light, IR laser if you have night vision, and then magnified and with iron sights or a red dot. And then I guess if we want to put an accuracy standard on it, at least a 2 MOA gun at a minimum, although most guns, I think you can, it's pretty easy to get a 1 MOA gun nowadays.
I think so.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's like,
yeah. And that's about it. I mean,
what would you say your minimum requirement for an IAR? What rifle, optic, optic suite, and then white light?
Pretty much what I already described. Because for the IAR, you can use an LVPO if you want. You can use an ACOG.
Mm-hmm.
I specifically like the ACOG, so that's what I put for my standard. But anything that you would, I feel like any rifle should probably have magnification with a red dot.
What do you like about the ACOG so much? Is that just what you're familiar with from the Marines, or
it's just very rugged and very simple?
Okay.
I know people have problems with it, and I understand those problems because yes, I get scope bite, and with that optic, it seems like you either get scope shadow or scope bite.
Mm-hmm.
But the ruggedness of it, the fact that it has ranging capabilities built into the BDC, part of it is nostalgia because that's what I used in the Marines. But rugged and simple, and now you can mount red dots on top of most of them. But even if we weren't talking about the red right hand upper, I would still recommend any rifle have magnification and a red dot, because see more, shoot more. You're going to be able to pull up that magnification, identify something, or find it to begin with. Whereas with unmagnified optics, it can be very difficult. You can be. I took a shooting course where it was a nighttime course, and they were having guys walk around with something in their hand at 25 yards, and we would turn our lights on and try to identify if they were a threat or not. A lot of times you couldn't tell what they had in their hand.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
If all you had was a red dot. With a magnified optic, and I've experienced this in my current job, I've been able to take a magnified optic and identify that a guy was not holding a gun and not shoot him. So that is why magnification is a must on any rifle. But for the IAR, it lends you multiple purposes. You can make accurate shots, you can gather information, all that stuff.
Yep. What about so handguards? I think I saw a post. I think it was you. No, I think it was Blue Jean Operator, but he was talking about setting up his rifle in kind of a quote unquote block 2 or block 3. Are you diving that deep into it where you have to have certain types of handguards for heat mitigation or anything like that?
No, and if you ever buy one from Red Right Hand, he can do it with multiple different handguards.
Okay.
I like Picatinny because it's just the most solid attachment point even to this day.
Mm-hmm.
Very compared to Keymod and M-Lock, just way higher failure point for Picatinny. Like it's going to take a lot more for those attachment points to fail.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But honestly, handguard is fucking irrelevant. Like that is not something I would use what you like, I guess.
Okay.
Is what I would say.
Yep.
There's the biggest thing is quality light, quality optic. That's going to benefit you more than anything else. I don't get wrapped around the axle with what buttstock you should use, what grip, what handguard, even bipods. There are people who say that you need a $300 bipod.
Or whatever. Tripod. I saw that he had some videos with you with your tripod.
Yeah, and I've had people tell me my tripod is cheap, and mine was about $200.
Which one are you using?
The ShadowTech something or another.
Okay.
I forget the brand name.
Not like our tripods where like the bog head or whatever hit. It's like a legitimate, looks like LMG tripod, like the MT40s or the.
Right.
Oh no, that's a guy that I've been working with a lot.
Oh, okay.
Strife 17. That's his tripod. Mine is one of those more like a rifle tripod where you can raise or lower the height of it. And now it will sprawl out to be like a machine gun tripod. You can sprawl the legs out real low.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I think those M19 tripods like he has, I think those are like $200-$300. Whereas the rifle tripods like I have, mine's about $200, made by ShadowTech, but you can spend $2,000 on those. Now, I don't have any recommendations for those because I think you're just people in the gun industry or in people that are gun owners worry about a lot of dumb shit. And I try to remove a lot of that too. So even if you get $100 tripod, I'd say it's good, because it's going to be more about how you brace your body, how you anchor that thing to the ground, that sort of stuff, rather than whether or not you spent $1,000 on your tripod or bipod.
Yep. Well, and I think we've talked about this several times in previous episodes. A lot of it is if you have the software to run a $200 bipod, compared to, someone going out and listen to this podcast, go buy like the expensive $2,000, recreation of that 1919 with like all the bells and whistles, and then puts it in their closet and never uses it. It's a completely different, like, like.
And even with the IARs, even with the auto rifles, I have a whole series on YouTube if you guys ever want to check it out. But I even did a video about various methods of making an IAR, and I have a budget, a mid-grade, and like a Gucci model. So even with auto rifles, you can achieve it without buying the most expensive stuff. You can even achieve the auto rifle roll without having full auto or a binary trigger or a force reset trigger. You can just make a guy in your group. I recommend that he has a 16 to 20 inch rifle, but you can just tell him, hey, upon contact, you're going to rip off 15 rounds, and then you're going to fire a minimum of 4-round bursts after that. And he could do it all in semi, right? Because the rest of your squad should be, if you've designated him the auto rifleman and the rest of your squad is the rifleman, they should be engaging point targets and targets of opportunity, and he should be laying down suppressive fire, and he can do it with semi-auto fire. So even I will tell you when it comes to an auto rifle, you can keep it very simple. Now, of course, the stuff I use is probably the most optimal gear out there, but you can still achieve it without, buying a red right hand upper.
What is some of the things that red right hand does differently than just
say PSA?
Yeah, say PSA.
Besides making quality uppers.
Yeah, well, I mean, PSA is kind of a bad comparison because they are budget. But let's say him versus BCM, which I think most people would think BCM's quality. I think so. Yeah. For his IARs, the barrel is an H-bar barrel, and it's chrome lined. He has spent the time and the money to develop a heat mitigation system purpose-built for the AR-15 as an auto rifle. So he's put a lot of heat sinks near the chamber and near the gas block where it gets the hottest, and then the entire barrel is lined with the heat mitigation system. Also, the gas tube is lined with a heat mitigation coil. And, a lot of people will look at the M27 that the Marine Corps uses and says, well, that gun doesn't have that, so why do I need this thing with the heat mitigation system? Well, the Marine Corps doesn't care about shooting out barrels because they're just going to hand you a new M27.
Right.
Yeah.
The heat mitigation allows that gun to have way more longevity. And I've often said that it's actually superior to the M27 because of that. Like the Marine Corps should adopt a similar setup to, prolong the life of their guns. And, some other things that I personally don't think you quite need on a IAR, but he has an adjustable gas collar. So if you need to adjust your gas, you just reach up to the end of the
gas block.
It's basically where the God, we were just talking about it. The Picatinny rail,
the handguard.
Handguard, yeah. You just reach up to the end of the handguard and you either add more gas or you twist it the other way and reduce the gas.
Right.
So just really user-friendly gas collar. Doesn't require a tool. You can do it under pressure, under fire. Just turn it left or right, reduce or add gas. And then, the BCG is coated, that whole thing. So that's why I would say that's the optimal option. But in the videos that I've done, I've demonstrated how a carry handle M16 can be a fucking IAR. You can keep it simple. It is not going to be able to achieve the longevity of those volumes of fire, but it can still be done.
Yep, absolutely. And one of the things that you discussed in the video, going back to the cyclic rates, is like you had mentioned before, you let go, 15 15 rounds, and then you can scale it back to what you think is appropriate for that situation. 2, 3, 4, 5 round burst every 20 seconds, every 30 seconds, whatever the case may be.
Yeah. And, another part of being an auto rifleman or whenever you're doing suppression is you have to always assess the effects of your fires. And so part of that is training these guys to be that role. So when you let off a 4-round burst, you need to be able to assess, like, is this effective, or do I need to increase my rate of fire, or can I decrease it a little bit? So that the other part of it is training. You should be assessing the effects of your fires at all times, and that'll help you determine rates of fire also.
Right.
So I guess the $1 million question: why go for something like an IAR over like the was it Strike Industries, the MCR, the like a belt fed rifle compared to a like a standard
magazine.
AR-15?
Yeah. Probably the biggest thing is
that's money. That's money.
Yeah, that was going to be the number one thing I said. Because I looked into those a few months ago, and I thought I saw they were like $5,000.
Oh, I just looked at them brand new from at least Strike Industries, Strike Industries is $8,400.
84?
$8,400.
Wow.
Okay, well, so
and again, outside of that,
yeah. So the MCRs, I mean, you've got to feed it with linked ammo, which means you can buy your own links, and you can sit there and link 2, 2, 3 together. But have fun with that.
Yeah.
Versus jamming it in a magazine, which an auto rifle would take. Linked ammo is always going to be less reliable because regardless of caliber, the links are usually flimsy ditch metal, like shitty metal. So you will find that links cause a lot of malfunctions in belt-fed guns.
Yeah.
So number one, you have to provide it with linked ammo. Number two, they are going to be less reliable as a flaw of their design. Even the most reliable machine guns are going to have more malfunctions. So there's that. There's, so you've bought the MCR. Where's your spare parts? You have to invest money in spare parts, which is probably going to be another significant expense. Versus auto rifles, like you look at Klein Machine or Red Right Hand, with the exception of the heat mitigation system, that thing uses all the same parts an AR would. So logistically, you're going to have magazine compatibility, parts compatibility, mobility, and accuracy. Because essentially the MCR is a saw, so now you're adding weight back onto that roll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So, your main, I guess, pros and cons versus an MCR or belt-fed system. You're going to be as mobile as the rifleman. You're going to have not quite the accuracy of a DMR, but you're going to have the accuracy of a standard rifle for sure, which belt-fed systems typically don't. Like they're there to spray rounds and keep people's heads down. They're not there for accuracy. So you have mobility, accuracy, and ease of logistics due to the parts and magazines. Now, of course, your limitation there would be rate of fire. It's never going to match a belt fed. Just isn't going to. But it gives you a decent trade-off. And then, depending on the caliber of the belt fed, like if you were shooting a 240, you're going to have more barrier penetration than auto rifle, just due to the nature of the caliber.
Yeah.
Now you could consider that a con, but I mean, that's kind of just inherent to the systems themselves. So it's like comparing apples to oranges at that point.
Yeah. I mean, it's you can compare a 308 IAR compared to like a 240, and you'll have the same things if you compare like an MCR to a normal IAR.
Yeah.
And before anyone jumps into it and it's like, well, but what about the M249S? You're running into a lot of the same issues there. Not only is it $10,200.
He has it pulled up on his phone right now.
And back to our talk about CQB. I've done CQB with a saw, and it fucking sucks. It really does. Like, it really is a unwieldy weapon in those conditions.
It's
and then
extremely heavy. I mean, you're talking 26 pounds, I think, with a 100-round drum.
Yeah, and then you're clearing a building with enemies 10 feet away in the next room, and you've got to clear a malfunction with a saw. Have fun.
Yeah. Yep.
Transition to my pistol. Yeah, well, your best weapon is the saw, and you need to get it the fuck back up. So that's not going to fly.
This isn't a James Bond movie. I'm not going to be dropping Russian guys in like level 4 plate with 380 like one shot.
Well, here's the thing: CQB is dangerous, and nobody in your team is going to be like, "Yeah, it's cool, bro. Don't clear that malfunction. Just use your pistol." They're going to want that saw back in the fight, spraying everything in that building. So, have fun with that, because the danger of CQB is the proximity.
Well, it depends on what pistol you're talking about, though.
Yeah, if you're shooting like, what was it, the Magnum Research, like a 45-70 revolver, I think you'd be pretty sad.
Or a Deagle,
Knockdown power.
2 world wars. So.
Yeah, so anybody who would vouch for those systems, I would just ask them, well, what about CQB? What about your precious CQB, where those systems are even worse in those environments?
It's almost like you should do your area studies before
there you go
picking out what rifle you want to be lugging around. Yep.
So
there's my pitch for area studies.
Do your area studies.
Do your area studies, and let's talk about a little bit of drones. I see that you got into some drones, so talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, it's
drone curious.
I've been wanting a drone for a long time because I recognize that it is a low cost reconnaissance capability. Low cost being relative. Right. But I mean, with the capability they have now, you can buy ones that are relatively affordable that you can punch out 10 kilometers. Like, there's these fixed wing drones that you can throw up in the air, and they can be super quiet, go out 5 to 10 kilometers and look around. Or you can buy ones like the current one I have. It's the only drone I have. It's a quadcopter. You can probably check your immediate area out to about a mile or 2.
Yeah.
Or you can send it into structures. So I've wanted it for that reason, but what made me get one finally was this year I saw a video of a Russian T-90M, which is their latest version of their T-90 tank.
Yep.
And it got taken out and just completely obliterated by a drone. And that's a huge shift in combat power. And then that same day, I saw a video of a Ukrainian unit performing a very well executed attack on a trench line, by the book attack. And the Russians launched drones and killed half of them. And then I realized I was an idiot for not getting one sooner, and I'm trying to play catch up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because it's such a huge shift in combat power, and it's going to give the little man the ability to tip the scales.
Well, the way I've kind of been viewing drones, and I want to like caveat this, is I don't own one just yet. I'm still doing my research and saving up my pennies for one.
Yeah.
But much like a lot of how technology goes from military to commercial to civilian use, we saw that with like radios. We see them with like IARs, for example, or the SPRs. It is now taking away the monopoly from any sort of state actors from having those ISR assets or having some sort of
absolutely
asset that you have zero competition to. Now every guy can sit there with a FPV drone and a binary trigger and have similar, if not more, capabilities than most fire teams in the military today. Because I want to like caveat this as well. I'm in year like 16 of my military service, mix of active and reserves, and everyone believes that a normal like a fire team or a squad, like infantry squad, is going to be the most equipped, most badass people. I'll tell you what, the shit you get issued is garbage, and a lot of the supplies you get issued is garbage, and the training you get is garbage in the military because it's the government.
Whereas civilians, people who get into this stuff, are hobbyists,
yes.
right? Which means they're going to be very proficient.
They have the autism that the military doesn't know how to weaponize just yet.
Yep.
All right. Let me rephrase that. They weaponize autism very, very well, but at least this is the military.
Any military has the advantage of organization and logistics.
Mm-hmm.
The simple fact that you can go, hey, you 40 guys are going here right now, and those guys cannot say no. Like, have you ever tried to get 5 guys to train together on one single day?
Oh,
yeah. Exactly. So
just these 3 of us.
These two, like me, Mark, and I, just sitting here for an hour and a half, and like once or twice a week to do a podcast is nightmarish alone.
Yeah, but huge shift in capability to the little man is what I'll describe that as. And then one of the things I've been learning, or one of the things I've been kind of working with the Strife 17 guy on, is we're developing our own SOPs for the use of them. And one of the things that we've established is we believe that everybody should have an IAR in your squad, and we believe that everybody should have a drone as well. And you should diversify your drone. So if, one thing I would suggest is don't get stuck doing research trying to find the perfect drone, because they are multi-use.
Mm-hmm.
Based on what you buy, because my FPV drone is not the best for area reconnaissance. It can do it, but it's the best for clearing structures and confined spaces. Something like a DJI Mini would be the best for area reconnaissance, or a fixed wing drone would be better for area reconnaissance.
Yeah. It's almost like, there's no one perfect setup with rifles or kit or drones or rucksacks or there's no one perfect setup. You have to have not multiple, but at least one that fits what you want to get done, and be able to adapt it to what you need it to do.
Yeah, slightly disagree. I think drones, you need to diversify the types you have, because you cannot convert them into other types.
Okay.
Whereas, if you get a ruck, you can load that up with whatever you want. It's truly multi-purpose. And same with, if you get LB load-bearing equipment that is not a micro rig, you can adjust that to whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
Same with rifles. The reason I preach longer rifles is because it fits a multitude of situations. So you don't necessarily have to have different things within those systems. Splitting hairs, I know, but
no. I mean, that's all. Again, I am way behind on the drone game. I'm playing it. I don't know. Do you watch Brass Facts stuff at all?
Yeah, occasionally.
He came out with a video about like I can't remember what it's called, but it pretty much had the pyramid of preparedness.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm still playing down in like the CCW world. I'm doing like a lot of like deep concealment and non-permissive carry stuff, and you guys are playing up here in the pretty much I'm making my own squad and becoming warlords games.
Yeah, there is an area that you need to start in. I would not suggest starting where I'm at. You definitely you should have adequate weapon skills, medical skills, physical fitness, water procurement, food stockpiles and procurement. Those would be the foundation, and then you build up from there.
I got a question. Have you been to what's Darcy's course? I'm blanking on the term. Tusk, yeah.
I want to go, but I have not been yet.
Okay.
It
looks fun. I definitely want to go. That's definitely one of the courses that I keep on telling myself I need to just sign up and do it.
It looks great, and I've had friends that have gone, and they have nothing but good things to say. It's just it is an expensive course.
Yes. And
every time I think I want to save up for it, something else comes up.
Yeah, I feel like that's the folly of this industry, whatever you want to put a label to it. This hobby of ours, it's the second you save enough pennies to go to this really cool course, either something new hits the shelf, or like, oh yeah, my night vision went down, I need to go buy a new set or get it fixed, or
just life happens. I mean,
oh yeah,
had some maintenance issues with my car the other day.
Yeah.
Right. So
that's
that
what
stuff comes up.
I had a nice pot of money saved up for a couple classes, and then the wife wanted AC on our RV school bus. So
yeah, but that's also why I'm a very keep it simple type of person when it comes to weapons and gear, which is, I talked to a guy a couple of days ago. He was asking me, he sends me this picture of a gun with a 4-inch barrel, and the handguard is like 10 inches. And he's like, do you know of an attachment with suppressor that I could use to make this? And my first question was like, why the fuck do you even want this? Why don't you just get a barrel that extends past the handguard and put your suppressor on? That'll be cheaper.
Because they got to be suppressed, man.
But well, I want it to be suppressed, but still really short. And like, dude, you're already you're lost, And I don't know if I convinced him otherwise, but hopefully I did.
Especially, was he like a 300 blackout, or was he?
It's 300 blackout, but I'm like, bro, do you not like velocity? Why don't you extend that barrel out to the end of the handguard instead of your 4-inch barrel? And bada bing, bada boom. You're back in action. You don't have to worry about finding this special attachment. Like you need to build this gun and then go shoot and find people to shoot with. You need to stop living on the internet.
And that guy's going to really hate his life after dropping like 2-3 mags, and his suppressors god hot, and he can't even hold the handguard, like probably the really chintzy handguard he bought for it.
Yeah, anymore. And the other thing too is, I didn't ask this guy this question, but if I were to ask him, like, hey man, what kind of ruck do you have? He'd probably be like, I don't have one. Oh, okay. Backpack. Well, how many like, do you have a couple tarps to keep you dry in the field or to help keep you warm? No, I don't have any of that. You know what I mean? Like there is a huge disconnect between what's important.
I want to steal this term from, do you ever watch like the Seaburn Art stuff? Have you ever listened?
Oh yeah. I've listened to their podcast a few times. Yeah.
Well, they talked about like kind of gun culture, like the gun culture 2.0 or whatever the stage that they're on right now. Now it's kind of getting to the sustainment side of how we got to the point where we have closets full of guns and 10,000 rounds of ammo been to most courses, and now it's like, cool, what's next? And I find I really enjoy that a lot of guys are going into the sustainment side of things, of how to set up like Red Beer Tacticals really getting popular these days, of how to set your kit up and how to actually do some of the basics of either patrol based operations or something like that.
It's one of the few good trends that's happening. Yeah, because the one thing I also tell people is I'm not really a gun guy. I have a couple of rifles, a few shotguns. I have 2 Glocks because you got to have backups.
Yeah.
But like I'm not. You're never gonna find me like, oh my god, the new pee pee poo poo from SHOT Show. Pee pee poo poo Dynamics just released a new pee pee poo poo pistol. Like I don't care, because it just has nothing to do with actually accomplishing objectives. The ability to be in the right place at the right time with the right gear is what matters. Which means you should be able to ruck, run, carry your fighting equipment, and shoot accurately and communicate. So that's why the recce craze was stupid, because most people probably did not even know how to do a salute report.
A what?
A salute report. Yeah, I don't know if the Army has a different term.
No. We have salute, but for those of
size, activity, location, unit, time, equipment.
There you go. That is, to be frankly honest with you, that is a term, or an acronym rather, that I've actually forgot about. That is kind of one of the big gaps, I would say, is the maneuverability portion of my software. software.
Software.
Yeah. So, it's been a long time since I've worked in a small unit, whether it be fire team or squad size. So, I understand the simple things like bounding, Overwatch, and all that type of stuff. But salute report, yeah, that is something that I hadn't thought of in a long time.
And I'm going to since this is airing in August, I can kind of talk about it, I suppose. So I'm actually going to go to a CTC rotation here. Actually, I leave tomorrow for it out in Louisiana. So, but a lot of our train up has to be those basic soldier skills because even our militaries are losing that kind of the field craft that was once like so prevalent in all our training. It's how to pack your ruck. It's how to pack your kit. Like the amount of people I had to show how to set up a flick to be useful. Like most people just get the flick, throw like the double bandoliers on it, and call it a day. It's like no.
What's a flick?
Field load carrying.
It's like a vest and a belt kit put together almost.
Yeah. There's a lot of people that.
There's a lot of like non-military people that listen to this, so we have to kind of.
Got a burger on your nose, or on your finger, or what's going on here?
So, but a lot of those skills are not or at least lost because everyone wants to buy a JPC, a micro rig, and maybe a Haley strategic backpack to put on your plate carrier, and that's it.
When I've went out and purchased a multicam 3rd generation or the new generation rucksack, the newest of the new rucksack that the Army is using right now. Sure, it's a piece of shit, but it's big. It's going to hold a lot of stuff. It's going to be durable.
I'm an Alice gang. I've been rocking the same one for.
I've got one of those too, but I was able to buy both of those off of Facebook Marketplace for $50 each. But a lot of these other guys are going out there and they're spending all of the new hotness, and all that type of jazz.
So I've been running a Crossfire Mark 7 for a few months, and it's good. But is it worth the money over an Alice? I don't think so. I am 100% Alice till I die. Like one thing I did was I took my old Alice frame, took the old bag off, and I put the Marine Corps Philby bag on that, and I think that is perfection. Because I got it from like $20 for $20 from Sportsman's Guide.
Yeah.
Just the bag was great. It was the frame that sucked. I used the Philby when I was in.
Yeah.
We always had to wear a plate carrier, but they never gave us a pack with a frame compatible with plate carriers. However, the bag was very modular, plenty of room for everything you needed.
That's what so throws me off about the Alice so much. You have these brand new, like the have you wore the plastic Molly framed backpacks
from the Army?
Yeah.
No, I've never worn those.
They're terrible with armor. Like the second you put like an IOTV on or whatever they're calling them now they're just garbage compared to like an Alice ruck. For some reason, back in I guess Vietnam when they made these things,
it's that angled frame.
Yeah, it's absolute perfection. I bought I bought one when I was in like JROTC back in like the early 2000s. And then I had it had some extra pouches added to it at some at Fort Bragg, and absolute like the perfect backpack. If you don't have an Alice ruck, you are doing it wrong.
Yeah, it was made in an era where we didn't wear SAPI plates, but somehow fits well with SAPI plates.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. But I think it's because the waistband is also not super wide, and that angle that it has in the frame just allows it to fit over your SAPIs. So, yeah.
The military gets equipment very doesn't get it right all the time. The Alice, the Whoopee, and actually I just picked up one of these. The Marine Corps, their admin pouch, like that big 4 shingle admin pouch you guys get.
Yeah,
I picked up one of those. They're fantastic for like $25. Like Spiritus is like $118, or you can get the Marine one for $25. I got mine on like Venture Surplus.
Oh yeah, it's got the rubber lining along the zipper to waterproof it.
Yeah,
that's actually, we were talking about my bandolier version 2. That's what I use for my dangler, because I have that row of molly where you can molly in a dangler if you want. That's what I use that pouch for.
It's absolutely fantastic. I just unfortunately I had to spray paint it a little bit more multi-cami so it fits the rest of my kit, but absolutely a fantastic pouch. It carries, like, I have chem lights, I have multi-tools, I have
It's actually meant to go on the day pack that the Marine Corps issues. Yep.
Oh.
But that's why it's so big, and guys would use them for admin pouches.
Yeah, I use mine, like, I have so Mark actually lent me his Agilite K9 for this upcoming training. So I have that, just a little 3-bank, like a 3 shingle, and then that admin pouch right on front to run.
Hell yeah.
And then I also have my flick and my ruck, because I'm really hoping I don't have to fucking wear plates the entire time, but I don't get to make the rules anymore. So outside of kit and outside of guns and outside of this crazy world of firearms, what also gets Night Fighter ticking?
I love working out.
Okay.
It's been a constant habit ever since I was 13 years old. I was lucky enough to where my dad was also a power lifter.
Yeah.
So 13 years old, he dragged me in the gym, made me start lifting weights, and I've been doing it ever since. It was also my punishment growing up.
Yeah.
Was fitness. Yeah, I think my dad hit me and my brother one time. I have one younger brother. I think he spanked us like one time, and I can't remember why he didn't do it again, but I guess he just decided that he would PT us until we fucking died.
Okay.
So, one notable story was my mom was like, "Hey boys, it's time to go to church, get ready." And we're like, "We don't want to go to church." And we start talking back to our mom. We didn't realize, we thought her dad had gone to work. So he comes out of our bedroom and he's like, "Oh, okay, great. Yeah. You want to talk back to your mom? You don't have to go to church. We'll do something else." And my brother and I had to do, this probably only lasted 10 minutes, but one of us had to do push-ups while the other person pushed a wheelbarrow full of bricks around the house. And then when you got to when my brother pushed it to me, we would switch. He would start doing push-ups. I would push the wheelbarrow. Probably only did that for 10 minutes, but by the end of it, we're just crying and like, "Oh, please let us stop."
Yep.
But I think that the physical trauma of that made me actually like working out.
Yeah.
And so I've always been into fitness. Like, I have I don't have like a home gym in my garage, but I have some badass fitness equipment in my garage. And that's another thing that I run on my page is I fat shame people. I make sure to fat shame my own customers. Like, I've had people contact me. They've bought a Fenris rig or a bandolier and they ask, "Hey, it's a little bit snug. Can I send it back for, you can expand the webbing, like the harness?" I'm like, "No, lose the weight to fit into that thing," because I give a generous amount of adjustment. So if you can't fit into one of my rigs, you're a fat piece of shit and you need to fix that.
No, I think he had one doing a black shirt, like July 4th post or whatever. He just had, I'm pulling it up right now. But yeah, I appreciate the fat shame. That's literally 90% of my job on this.
Oh yeah. Guys will look like this and then say, rebellion is your birthright.
Yeah.
That one. Yeah. And I'm sorry. I just have no sympathy for you, because all you have to do is eat less and exercise more. Very simple. You don't have to be an Olympian, but you cannot be a fucking waddling little walrus going down the street. You can.
Frankly, it's easier that just cut soda out of your life. Don't drink soda anymore. Just drink water.
Yep. Absolutely, yeah. If you're not putting liquid sugar in your body, you will lose a lot of weight just by not doing that. And so yeah, I haven't done any fitness posts lately, but I'm big into fitness. I mean, I did the tactical games in February, which is kind of back in the gun world, but it's got a huge fitness component.
Oh yeah, it does.
Yep. It is an ass kicker. I don't know if you guys have done it.
I have. Yeah, I did the I did the men's 40 plus elite or whatever it was, and it crushed every ounce of joy in my life.
And I did men's elite, so yeah, trust me, I get it. Like, I started to think like maybe this is a mistake doing elite.
Yeah.
Because my main concern, like I knew I could finish. I was just like, am I going to get fucking injured for like just coming out to a match on the weekend, you know?
Yeah.
Because it is an ass kicker. And the other thing too is you don't quite know what to expect for your first one.
Yep.
So there were some things I didn't realize how CrossFit-y it was.
Yeah.
There were some CrossFit exercises that I'm like, I don't know how to do this. I've never done this shit. And I didn't feel bad about it though, because it was like a really stupid thing. Like you had to throw a 55-pound bag over a 12-foot bar.
Okay.
Like, why the fuck would I ever do that? But
it's functional fitness. That's why.
You're simulating a baby. You got to toss a baby.
Yeah. You have a 55-pound baby. Jesus, dude. I'm throwing toddlers into fiery buildings.
You're carrying a wounded comrade, and you have to be able to throw him over a 12-foot wall and injure him further. But big fitness guy, and I'm always trying to improve my nutrition. Like I just started looking into how to make my own electrolyte powders, how to make my own protein bars. So I'm getting into that. And I think I mentioned earlier, like one of the bases of your pyramid should be water procurement.
Yes.
I'm investing in fucking rain collection like crazy.
Yeah, especially out there in the desert. You probably should.
Yeah, the only way I'm going to procure water is rain, because there are no rivers out here. There is a fair amount of rain though.
Yep.
So if you can harness that, it's not the best, but you know, it's all I really have.
It's better than no water, I suppose.
Yeah. Which, you know, kind of full circle, like that's why the gun industry, it's great that we're starting to look at sustainment more and more.
It's almost like there was a famous general that said something about logistics winning wars or something like that. And
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's good to hear too. I know that for those of you listening out there, this is something that we've touched on before, but water procurement, especially with like water storage or collecting rainwater, definitely check your local jurisdiction and laws there, because there may be laws against it.
Almost like you should do your area study.
It's almost
like you should do your area study and figure out what you can and can't do.
What I would say with rain collection, if it happens to be illegal in your area, find out how to camouflage it.
Yeah.
Because like anybody that's going to tell you not to collect water can, quite frankly, go kill themselves. I'm sorry to use such strong language, but
I mean, it
is the necessity of life
correct
at the lowest level of our cells.
Yep.
And you're telling me I can't collect it?
That's
any water shortages are due to the mismanagement of our politicians. So I would say buy your rain collectors, but buy camo netting as well.
Yeah. Or just make them look like something else. Like I know some of the creative ones I've seen is they paint it the same house, like the color of their house, and then put like flowers on top of it, so it looks like a big vase or a vase. Yeah,
and they're trash cans look a lot like trash cans, and those collect water too.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
You know,
so
and no one necessarily thinks that you're collecting water if they just see a trash can somewhere.
That's
make sure you buy a new trash can. Don't have a gently used trash can.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh God, that sounds so gross.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's something I always need to figure out and learn about.
It's okay here.
Well, yeah, I know it's okay here.
Cana Provisions just released a free water plan worksheet.
Oh, really?
I would suggest looking at that.
Yeah. If you could send that over to me in the DM, I'll put it into the description of the podcast so everybody can have that or find it or whatever.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's an email, but I'll send it to your email.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be great. Because that's something that Nan and I have talked about as water collection.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this year we haven't had to worry about it. water. I mean, it's been extremely wet.
Yeah, I think I remember our neighborhoods had like almost 60 inches this year,
and you're down in a valley too. Yep. So
holy crap!
Yeah,
I'm sitting pretty right now.
Yeah, it's
my garden's looking fucking fantastic right now.
You should see the freaking zucchinis that we've got. They're like,
oh man,
yeah. You gotta be careful. Don't make them too big or they get soggy in the middle.
We get a lot of rain for a desert area. We get a lot of rain, but it's still nothing compared to a more forested climate.
Yeah, and we're not even that forested.
High plains.
I mean, you get into central.
Where are you guys at?
Kansas.
We're in Kansas. Yeah.
Kansas. Okay.
Yeah, but you get into like central Missouri, and it gets even worse there.
Oh yeah.
So speaking of groups, and like team stuff, is there anybody else you've been working with in Arizona that you want to shout out? That's really cool that we should be paying attention. People should be paying attention
to. Red Clover Coffee guy owns a coffee company. Guy named his name isn't Practical Applications, but he runs a page called Practical Applications. Independence Training. I don't attend a ton of their classes, but I usually go to like one of their classes and I sponsor their shooting match. And then who else? I guess that's about it.
Well,
yeah. One thing I would say with groups though is don't make an Instagram group for your or Instagram page for your preparedness group.
Use Signal for your groups.
even that's compromised at this point.
Oh yeah, I have not to go on a tangent, but I had a buddy whose Russian wife worked at a headquarters at Signal, and somehow they got hacked all the time.
Yeah, I'm not saying use any particular app. I just wouldn't say, hey, here's our page on Instagram, and we are the 30th Rifle Woodsman or whatever.
Yeah, because that's soon going to be illegal. I think that bill got tabled, but
yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I don't know if it's well. Here's what I've seen, and I've had some experience with these groups. You're broadcasting that you exist.
Yep.
Oftentimes, and it sucks because it's such a great idea on the surface.
Yeah.
But oftentimes there's no vetting for who's coming in.
Yep.
And again, these always seem like such great ideas, but for some reason these groups always attract the biggest fucking retards.
Or FBI agents.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's one and the same, pretty much, I think.
One and the same, but one might just actually be a retard that's not an FBI agent.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I have people that I rely on, and I've built that group up over years, and these are people that I trust. And they also, the other problem is these groups give you the idea that you have a network of 60 people. Well, you don't actually have that many people. And all you have to do is look in your own life. Do you have 60 people that you can call and will help you in any circumstance?
Absolutely not.
You probably have 4, maybe 3. Right. So most of these people are fair weather patriots anyways. They are not going to be there when you really need them. And it applies to these groups, and it applies to your own life. You only have a few people you can depend on anyway. So it's kind of foolhardy to be like, hey, government, here we are practicing these things, and we're at this exact location. Now, of course, they could find that info if they want, but don't just hand it to them.
Make them work for it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the things that Jefe and I have been working on for over a year now, is trying to figure out our own plan within our own area, talk about different types of communications systems that we can utilize.
Well, one thing I would suggest is the way you defeat high tech is with low tech. So maybe figure something out where you don't need to use the internet.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Mesh networks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's my rabbit hole right now is mesh networks. So
I've been looking into that. I'm too stupid to understand it, but yes, I know what you're referring to on the surface.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it just sucks because it's all, and it's with any sort of this kind of, as say, like next generation of preparedness. It's the, hey, you want to have communications? It's either Baofangs or you're gonna spend thousands of dollars on a mesh network setting up nodes.
Well, and when you develop a comms plan, like when you're writing an operations order and you develop a comms plan, what do you always have? Visual signals too. So, and then your basic landlines. Like, do you think anybody's listening to landlines nowadays?
No. Right. I'm starting to see these reels on Instagram. It's like these Gen Zers are just like, it would be really cool if we had like a phone that was in one room of a house and that was like hardwired, and we're like, that was a thing.
So everyone listening at home, start laying down land wires to your buddy's house in the dead of night,
like a field phone.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, low tech means are going to be probably the most secure. So
makes me wonder if we could actually run a line from.
It's 9.5 miles.
Yeah, I know. But
that's a lot of landline.
But I want to know.
All you need to do is buy it and then just have the dedication to lay that wire.
Yeah, but I'd be interested to see if a field phone would be powerful enough to transmit that far.
I think our river between us would make it a little interesting, but.
Yeah, field phones I'm not too familiar with, so I wouldn't know.
It's essentially just.
I know what they are. I just don't know about their distance. Like if you ask me how far can they transmit, I wouldn't know.
As far as they can. That's the same. I remember when I got in the military, field phones were just kind of like generally being phased out. Now everyone has FBCB2s and JCRs and still using Ventrilo for some reason. But
yeah.
But now it's great because what's actually been really cool to see is a lot of these the CTC rotations like the National Training Center or at JRTC. They've been adding a lot of the lessons learned from Ukraine where they have drones that are just flying around. I am no expert in this stuff, but flying around with basic tech and be able to identify like map software using mapping software and this like off the shelf stuff map where brigade talks or brigade operation centers are off based off Wi-Fi pings and cell phones. Like the amount of digital, I guess what they call it, digital stat, like pollution that you give off on a daily basis. And you think you're protected from it. It's, all it takes is a guy with a drone and like 20 minutes on YouTube to figure out how to track where you're at.
Yeah. Well, it's not even that. We even see in the Ukrainian conflict, guys are taking pictures of where they're at, or they're doing an Instagram live, and they're able to figure out exactly where they are and freaking launch a sortie against them and destroy that. You know which one I'm talking about, right? Yeah. And
that was happening a lot early in the war too, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I remember watching a video about this kid who joined the Ukrainian Foreign Legion, and he did a TikTok. He's like, the kid was kind of a pussy.
Yeah.
Well, he joined the military, and then he makes this TikTok, and he's like, they're forcing us to fight. They're telling us to go here and there. It's like, bro, you joined the military. What you think you were going to get to choose your own mission, like it's Call of Duty? But anyway, then like that base got bombed a few hours later because of his dumbass.
I mean, the Taliban's been doing that to the U.S. Army since like the early 2000s, and everyone's acting like this is like a crazy new thing that's happening. It's like, no,
of warfare.
Yeah, it's well, let's not get into generational warfare because we'll be here for another hour and a half. Me talking like going on my statesman to talk about the generations of warfare.
Every time I think about it, though, I think of the new Top Gun Maverick, and the drinking game of every time they say 5th generation fighter, you take a shot.
No, that's two different terms, but yeah,
I know.
The advent of fourth generational warfare. No, but yeah, this off the shelf technology has been used against massive militaries that thought they were immune to this sort of stuff. Since the early 2000s, and now it's kind of coming to roost and actually been shown to the world. Like, hey, you post an Instagram story, you're getting J-damned.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I said, for at least for now, the low tech solutions are going to defeat the high tech ones, or at least mitigate them, and of course that'll change eventually. But then you just bounce up to a different method, and it's a constant cat and mouse game between attack and defend, right?
And I think that's going to be a major Achilles heel for a lot of the younger generation that's coming up. The hopefully like-minded individuals that are younger, that are coming up, that are constantly tied to their phone, right? I mean, I am, because I do all of this social media stuff. I'm constantly on my phone. So
I do, because I'm just addicted to it.
Yeah, exactly. We're addicted to it. So if there's a situation where we have to go like radio silent, is as Hefe's picking up his phone.
Yeah. Signal's blowing up. That's why.
Are we going to be able to turn off the phone, put it in a Faraday bag, and not use it and concentrate on what we're doing? I think that's going to be a key point that's going to get a lot of people in trouble in the future when the next conflict happens. And like we said, we're already seeing it in Ukraine.
Yep. So, I mean, it's just OPSEC's always been a thing. It's just expanded to the apps you use on your phone.
Yep.
And I forget which show I was watching, but they talked about how I believe it was Russia was able to identify an entire special forces team based on their Wi-Fi signals. Basically, they saw like, wow, there's a lot of Wi-Fi connections to the U.S. at this one spot, and this is in Syria. And they're like, oh wow, hey, they were able to find the names of people. Like they literally got the names of all these teams based on their let's say they all had Verizon cell phones.
Right.
They were able to access their Verizon accounts and be like, oh, here's so-and-so. And this is a special forces group from America, all based off Wi-Fi signals from their phones.
That's crazy.
I mean, a couple of years back spent some time in Eastern Europe as well. And the amount of information collected on us that we were like that the host nation governments let us know that they gathered on us just based off basic internet usage was outlandish, and they're supposed to be our friends and allies, let alone what some sort of hostile, even first world nation will be able to use against you.
How did that come about? I mean, how did they let you know that?
Because we built a relationship with them, with those guys, and they're like, hey, you probably shouldn't be walking around with Apple Watches, and here's X, Y, and Z things that you guys are doing. And by the way, if you ping this area, there's very few not Eastern European phone numbers, and these ones are showing up. And this is the information we could pull off those phone numbers based off general open source stuff.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, God, it's crazy.
Yeah,
it's silly.
Yeah. And this is.
I should just go back to a flip phone.
I know, right?
No, because it still can do it, man.
Yeah.
That's what's sucky. Like it's second you have a the very few things I've seen that work really well, and it's one of those you have to just cut ties and start all over again. What is it? It's I'm trying to remember the guy's name because I have his book on like OSINT. But he has an entire podcast of pretty much how to get off the grid the best you can, getting like certain phones with certain OS systems and using only certain messaging apps, using essentially what he recommends is having either a Chime account or what's the other kind of Cash App account, which isn't tied to like a fake name and fake address. Like the amount of stuff he recommends just to get kind of off the radar is outlandish, and most people don't want to do that because it sounds miserable.
Yeah, and it's so easy, and I can just take my phone. I don't even need to pay at grocery stores or whatever. I just take my phone and touch it against the little device, and boom,
my social credit score goes up or down.
You do not like glorious leader, social credit score go down.
Yeah, exactly. And that's one of the things Jefe talked to me about. This is in my day job. There is a possibility of me going to China here in the near future.
Don't bring a laptop.
Yeah. Well, I'll have to bring my laptop.
Don't bring like any personal
electronics. And whatever electronics that I do bring is going to be a burner phone that gets dropped into a Faraday bag, and that's it. And
just go buy your nice like Huawei phone. Get like a good Chinese number.
Yeah.
Or actually what
with a Baofeng.
The smarter thing to do is go to Walmart, get like a cheap just like even a smartphone, get a Google Fi account, make up a bunch of shit. Put it to a Cash App account that doesn't belong to you, and there's a lot of stuff you can do, man.
There you go.
Don't bring anything.
Did we ever talk about rates of fire?
We did not talk.
We touched on it.
I interrupted with the Ben Shapiro. Identify your terms. So
jeez. The rates of fire. The whole like I don't have enough ammo. Well,
yes.
Okay, fine.
Is that right?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like go buy ammo. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, but the IAR does not consume as much ammo as other systems, and you don't have to just mag dump. Like I said, you can develop your own rates of fire, but you should be assessing the effects of your fire against whatever you're shooting at, and you can raise your rate of fire or lower it. I've been working on rates of fire with 2-round burst, 4-round burst, and 6-round burst. So 2-round is like your sustained, 4-round is your rapid. So 2 rounds every 3 seconds, 4 rounds every 3 seconds, 6 rounds every 3 seconds. I don't recommend cyclic with the IAR because it's only got a 30-round box mag, obviously. But I'm trying to come up with a good term for the 4-round burst because the 2-round is the sustained. I guess the 4-round would be rapid. But then what is the 6-round every 3 seconds? I would say that is the rapid though,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Whereas the 4-round is like the intermediate, but saying intermediate in the middle of actual chaos might be a lot of syllables to be yelling out.
Quick.
Yeah, maybe that. But anyway.
So
it's not going to consume as much ammo.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is you also, like when it comes to shooting this gun, you don't have to do the rapid, these high volumes of fire all the time. You can just do your basic marksmanship training, and this thing has the heat mitigation to allow you to go rapid if you need.
Well, I think what a lot of people, and it's very easy to get kind of wrapped up into it. I go to your channel. I see you just essentially mag dumping into targets. I saw like the CQB stuff you have where you're just dropping like 40, like it looks like almost like 30 rounds at a single target, which is something that you need to train, but it isn't like since I have an IAR, I have to do this. I can go and do my normal whatever drills you like doing, like bill drills or any sort of
it's still just
drills.
A rifle.
Yeah, I think what people get gear tied up in is like I have special rifle, therefore I must do specialized training and feed it special things. It's very similar to like
not at all. Yeah,
I think a lot of people get that the SP, like if they get an SPR of some sort, I can only shoot match grade ammo and I can only shoot out to 300 plus yards. I don't shoot at target 5 yards from me anymore.
Yeah. The majority of what I do with that rifle is just standard rifle training. And, the CQB videos, just to clarify, I'm not dumping 30 rounds at a single target. I'm dumping 4 to 6.
Yeah.
But when it comes to establishing a support by fire position or bounding, when I do training where we're bounding forward, that's where I increase my rate of fire. Everything else, I'm taking semi-auto shots because it's just a rifle. Even the M27, you pick it up, you're like, wow, this is a rifle. Nobody looks at it and goes, oh, that is clearly an auto rifle. It looks very similar to a rifle, so you can just do standard things you would normally do.
So I guess the whole kind of idea behind the IR, if we want to like kind of go from Faraday bags in China to these rifles, is that it's a normal rifle that can do just a little bit extra if you need it, and you treat it as such rather than a special purpose tool.
Yeah, it is not something where you would say, oh, for this mission, I'm going to be suppressing, so I need my IAR. You should be carrying, again, that's why I say it is just, this is the new standard for a fighting rifle.
Yep.
Because now you have the capability to provide high volumes of fire if you need, and not completely wreck your gun in the long term.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the day, it's just a rifle. It can do all the other infantry tasks. You never have to say to yourself, like, man, I can't clear rooms with my auto rifle. Nope, you can.
Let me go back to my patrol base. I'm gonna grab my 11.5 inch. I'll be right back.
Yeah, because I'm a big believer in general purpose solutions, because it's not going to be this video game where you, oh man, today we're going to be working in vehicles. Let me grab my plate carrier and 11.5. Oh, well, today I'm going on a long range patrol. Let me grab my recce rifle with my chest rig. You know what I mean? You should just have like one setup that does everything. And not that any setup can do everything, but it'll do most things well or good, right?
Yeah.
That is what you're aiming for, because if you think you're returning home whenever you want, it's not going to happen.
Yep.
Thus, the auto rifle.
So,
and the other problem is everybody on the internet, everybody in the gun space is essentially saying this: my fantasy's right and your fantasy's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to die because my fantasy is the right fantasy. That's why I only really talk about things that increase your capability overall. Right? Drones, there's very few situations where a drone wouldn't benefit you. There's very few situations where a longer rifle or an auto rifle would not benefit you. You know, having a ruck, I can't think of a situation where having a ruck would not be a benefit. Multi-use, broad spectrum advantage on all of the stuff that I preach people should have.
But what about those Cry pants, man? You got to get a pair of those Cry pants. And
I have a pair of Cry pants, and the only reason is because somebody on TaxSwap was selling them for $75.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's
Ranger green Cry pants, because they are good pants, but they're not $400 good.
Yeah.
A pair of true spec BDUs will do just fine.
Well, actually, it's been pretty funny. We've been testing out Cries, and what's the Slovenian one?
The UF
Pro.
UF Pro.
UF Pro's been smacking the Cries. Silly.
Yeah. Are they really?
I ran UF Pro pants at the 4th of July match that I just shot. Awesome pants. Yeah.
Well, so
I got a pair of the classics.
They just reached out to me. They're gonna supposedly they're supposed to be sending me a whole set.
Oh, nice. So I remember because we talked to some. He was an interesting dude because he's like, yeah, I used this during the conflict. And you're like, okay, but Mr. Slovenian man, all right.
Yeah, well, my UF Pro pants.
Yeah.
I got a hole in the knee during the competition I shot, so they got some street cred too.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's not war, but it's probably like harder than what that guy did.
Yeah, I mean that guy. What does he know? It's just funny because it's like, oh, you probably have a lot of blue helmets at home, don't you, man?
Yeah, so, and it's like, well, what was the nature of the conflict? Were you in Africa fighting people with sticks, or like?
No, he was It's the early 90s, man. A lot of weird things were happening in the early 90s, and
I think the
Mediterranean
term
area
now is balkanization. Is that?
Yeah, I think that's the term it was. He was on the winning side. He wasn't on the UN side. But sorry, I just remember that guy. He was hilarious.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because they sent me an email just last week, and they're like, "Hey, we're just following up to see if you wanted anything," and I was like, I never got an email from you guys.
Yeah.
I was like, thanks for the follow up.
Yeah, thanks for the follow up on that one.
Yeah,
too.
right.
Yeah, I'm a medium.
Yeah, so it's a good thing I am too.
Yeah, but you don't look like a medium, you fat piece of shit. Speaking of fat shaming, so you talked a little bit about so your dad was military for 20-something years. You spent some time in it as well. You said you were into powerlifting. Is that correct? Was that the
my dad was.
Your dad was, okay.
But he got me into lifting in general. I've never been like a power lifter, like doing competitions or anything. You know, I played sports in high school. I did football, wrestling, and track.
So what's the night fighter routine look like?
I work out 5 to 6 days a week, and it's always a combination of lifting things and cardio. So I might do, and again, like with my gear selection, I keep it simple. So 2 or 3 days I'm doing heavy lifting, but I also have cardio incorporated. It's mostly like a lifting focused day. The other days I'm doing cardio focused, but I'm still picking up heavy things. So like today, I did a circuit where I have a 200-pound sandbag. I would roll that on top of me and basically bench press it. I would do that, and then I would do 25 4-count flutter kicks, and then I would run a third of a mile. And you do that for 5 rounds.
Any reason why a third is just that seems like
because it's longer than a quarter.
Yeah. So any reason why a third? Like usually it's like I do like half.
Because it's in my neighborhood, and I drove this little lap that goes around my house, and that equaled a third.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, it's like literally it's you know, on your odometer when you drive your car, it was 0.3.
Cool.
So I was okay. Well, that's the lap I'll run, and I'll do it 5 times. It ends up being a little over a mile at the end.
Yeah.
But you end up bench pressing 200 pounds of the sandbag. You know, I did 5 rounds of 5 on that, and then 5 rounds of 25-round 4-count flare kicks, and then 5 laps. So you definitely get your lifting in, you get your cardio in, because it's important to be strong, but endurance wins the day, you know.
Well, it's I don't want to get my tirade about triphasic athletes again, but how did you kind of build these routines? Is it something you just build on your own and kind of come up with on yourself, or do you use like a programming or somebody help you out?
Man, I'm like, okay, time to work out, and I make up my workout.
Okay.
Yeah, the one component is that I try to make it really shitty. Like when people watch me work out, they're like, "What the fuck are you doing? Like, why do you hate yourself so much?" Other than that, I don't sit there, like I'm not writing things in a notebook. Like on Tuesday, I'm going to do 400, fucking AMRAPs for blah, 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 blah. I just walk in the gym, or I walk wherever I'm going to work out, and I start doing stuff, but I definitely always try to make it hard.
Yeah.
Like you should be hating life within one set of whatever you're doing.
Trying to figure out a way to scale it back.
Yeah, and don't get, by no means am I a badass. There are guys that I work with on my own police department that make me look like a complete pussy. It's just, that is my goal when it comes to my workouts.
Good. That's good.
No.
But you don't run long distance. I think it was a comment you made earlier today.
I'm not a good runner. And it depends on what you mean by long distance. The other day I ran 4 miles. That's long for me.
No, I think that's pretty decent for, I would say, probably 98% of people.
Yeah, you're never going to see me run marathon though.
Mm-hmm.
Just ain't happening. You know, like if I got to run that far, I'll ruck. Like it's just, or I'll die. I'm like, yeah, if I got to run that far, I'll just die.
No, thanks. I'll just die, please.
Yeah. Finish 20 miles of running or die. I choose death.
Well, you're always kind of like the lifter instead of the runner, because you'll see.
I am much stronger than I am a good runner.
Okay, because I know that like with you probably saw this in time in the Marines, and you see it probably in your job as law enforcement. There's some guys like, I will deadlift 500 pounds and ask me to run a mile. Fuck you. And there's people that are like, yeah, I can run like 26 miles today. That's no problem. But not benching 135
you put a pack on their back and they fall over.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. Saw those guys. Yeah, for sure. And I actually think I'm kind of in the middle. You know, like I can do the running, I can ruck. And that's why I don't focus a lot on weightlifting, because like I'm just kind of naturally strong. So I really have to focus on the cardio to be able to do it at all.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is what I would say. Like maybe 2 weeks ago, I was after shift, I was working out with a buddy in our gym, and I threw up 300 pounds or 315, 345 pound plates on either side. And I don't think I had tried to do that much in about a year. Right. So I'm just kind of a naturally strong guy. I don't have to work hard at being strong. I have to work hard at being a good runner, and I have to work hard on my endurance. So,
yeah, I would say that's probably not to your scale, but I have inherently strong arms and strong hands. Well,
I haven't seen it.
What's that?
Said I haven't seen it.
Well, you know what? Fuck you. All right. So you haven't been around training with me in a long time, but needless to say, I still can, pick up and move heavy things without much thought to it. That's the point that I'm trying to get at. Running endurance, that's always been a challenge for me. Now there was a period of time where, I was running sub 7 minute mile pace, running 2 miles on a APFT in like 12:16, which, doesn't sound necessarily fast, but it ends up maxing out your run time, so I was proud of that. But that was probably, I would say probably 24 months just of pushing myself as hard as I could every time we ran, so, and now, I'm 46 and everything hurts and things are breaking all of a sudden. So, I've got one hand, I got a finger on one hand that's swollen and has been for 2 months. I got a knuckle on another hand that's all like, I don't know, got some arthritic stuff going on. Things are popping. They're not supposed to be popping, so.
Yeah. I mean, I'm only 37, but, I was on a run maybe a month ago, and for whatever reason, my calf just completely cramped up.
Mm-hmm.
I jumped in a pool around that same time, and my knee seized up just because the water was cold. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy how your body reacts. So,
but here's the thing: what if I didn't maintain my fitness? How bad would it be at that point?
Oh yeah,
that's the scary part. Is like these guys that are letting themselves go. It's like they're going to be wheelchair bound.
Mm-hmm.
Much quicker than we will. So,
and I saw it with guys at the tactical games. There's one dude, bless his heart, showed up to do the tactical games, trained zero.
Yeah.
Didn't do any training whatsoever.
Well, why would you?
Yeah, I know, right? And he was in my division, the 40 plus, and we have to lift 180-pound sandbags over a yoke and drop it, and then squat underneath the yoke and then pick it up again and toss it over.
Right.
And this dude, he made it through the first half of the first day, and then the second half there was another iteration where you had to pick up that same sandbag, 180 pounds, and then step over a little like pipe thing. And he did it like one time and his back just gave out,
Hell yeah.
That's, I mean,
as the Lord intended.
Yeah. Yeah. He, at least he's tried.
I find it's like, I saw this in the military and I see this now in the police force. Like, it seems like most people just hope for the best, and that's what's so funny. Like, I remember showing up to Marine boot camp and wondering, like, did you guys not know that you joined the Marine Corps? Like, why can't you keep up when we just have to run a mile to somewhere, and it's kind of like, so, you're doing the tactical games and you just thought that like Jesus would carry you through it or something. I don't know.
Right.
It's it's one thing we hound a lot in our training. It's you're not gonna rise to the occasion. You're gonna fall to the lowest, like your highest level of training, and that's about all you got. And if you haven't been doing any training, you're not gonna go very far.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we're getting to about the 2-hour mark. I wanted to ask though. So we have the Fenris and you have your bandolier. What's next? Is there anything next?
I'm always working on things, but in terms of what actually comes up for sale, I've probably done 10 prototypes for everything for the 3 products that I sell.
Mm-hmm.
So what's coming next? I don't know. Like, none of, like, when you guys mentioned, when I was joking about being a trendsetter,
mm-hmm.
it really is a joke. Like, I am stumbling around in the dark. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing half the time. And so when it comes to the next product, your guess is as good as mine, because I didn't even know that I was going to be making gear one day.
Is there anything you're working on right now that you can kind of give us a little teaser on?
I'm working on the next prototype of the Fenris.
Mm-hmm.
We mentioned, we were talking about tripods earlier, and the rifle tripods that you would use for precision shooting. I am working with some people to develop a product for those tripods, like some things to make your life easier when you're using them.
Mm-hmm.
I did a one-off run of belt kits. So I sold 10 Night Fighter belt kits, which may never come back to production.
It was kind of miserable to make.
Not miserable, just I don't like, if I make a product, I want it to be something that you can't find with another company.
Yep.
And there's a dozen belt kits out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I don't have much on the plate right now in terms of what I'm testing. I tested an all Molly Fenris where you could Molly in pouches in the orientation that you would normally just buy a Fenris from me.
Mm-hmm.
I was prototyping something called the Raid Rig, which was a rig actually meant to support like an IAR. It held 12 mags.
Yikes.
With the sewn-in pouches that it had. So I'm always prototyping stuff, but still only sell 3 products. It just is what it is. I'd rather have 3 solid things than. And the other factor is, sometimes I come out with something and I think it's going to sell well, and then it doesn't, so I take it away.
Yeah.
Because the logistics of having to buy, because the thing is, it may not sell well, but then somebody every once in a while still wants one, and I'm like, well, shit, I'm out of the part for that, so let me reorder that. And so I just eventually take it away for convenience.
Yep.
But a product for precision shooting tripods, and I would like to kind of revamp the Raid Rig into something else. I may be bringing the Raid Rig back.
And what's the Raid Rig? Sorry.
It's I only made a few posts about it, and it was last year, so over a year ago. But it was a split front chest rig, 4 sewn in mag pouches. Each mag pouch held 3 mags.
Okay.
And it had 3 rows of Molly on either side. So, and then like the middle of each side opened up for like admin stuff. So you had an admin pouch sewn in as well.
Okay.
And that's essentially what it was, a large patrol rig. The other thing that was cool about the pouches is the pouches were also big enough to be an IFAC. So I ran this rig at a match one time, a rifle competition, and I had 9 mags plus an IFAC, plus a canteen, plus my night vision. So pretty robust rig. I just want to revamp it into something a little bit easier to produce.
So I also see you have some. Are you still doing the sub gun stuff, or is there like 308 platforms as well, or is it just all right now?
The elastic bandolier is compatible with 5.56 and 308.
Okay.
The new Fenris will be compatible with 5.56 and 308 and AK.
Oh, there you go, Mark.
There you go.
Once that's released, but I am not going to do anything for sub guns because they're dumb.
Yep,
when you talk about something that has offensive or defensive capability, that's now. Don't get me wrong. I have a Flux Raider, right? But that you don't need a chest rig to run that. You can run that like a pistol. You can have that thing in a bag somewhere, stuff a few mags in your pocket, and run it from there. And the Flux Raider comes with another mag on the gun. So you have 2 mags off the bat. But the reason I like that, say, versus an MP5, which I just got rid of this week, was the MP5 is a big honking gun. A lot of people don't realize that.
Yep.
It's actually pretty hefty. You can't really conceal it in like a bag very well. And then all it does is shoot 9 mil. Whereas the Raider is actually very small and you can shoulder it. But you don't need a chest rig to run that.
Yeah, just a couple pockets will do the trick.
So I just don't care about doing subgun stuff because I don't view it as an effective platform anymore.
Yeah.
If you really want a gun that's small like that, just get a small AR.
Oh, or even like the new 365 Raider, like people are already having like.
Sure, yeah. There's just better options out there, and I don't really care to make stuff for subguns anymore. So I'm just going to focus on, again, because I like to maximize your purchasing power. Anything that I make going forward will be compatible with 5.56 or 308. So that way you buy one item and you can run multiple platforms.
So I also saw you kind of dip your toes in the AK stuff as well. Is there going to be like the IAR guide for the AK guys that want to run like,
no
budget RPKs or?
Absolutely not. I personally don't own an AK. You may have seen pictures on my page. That's an airsoft gun.
Oh, okay.
No, the AK, I think every person should understand how to field strip it, how to operate it, but it is the gun of a conscript. It is a inferior weapon, and I only run ARs. Now, of course, my rigs are going, if you want to run an AK out of my bandoliers or my Fenris rig, you can. It is able to do that. But me personally, anything I talk about with the AR-15 auto rifle, you can apply that to the AK. So it's almost not necessary.
Yep.
Now, in terms of the ins and outs of specific gear and like kind of the nerdy shit, maybe you need to find a guide for that. But in terms of employment, it's the same.
Okay. And then I guess one of the final questions to wrap it up. So for the IR platform, and you probably cover this in your videos. And I apologize. I did not do my pre-research and as usual, I've been pretty busy this week. D60 Beta Mags, 40 rounders, the Surefire 60 rounders. What is the Night Fighter stamped proof magazine of choice?
In the gun, like off the bat, I run coupled 40 rounders.
Okay.
The rest of my rig has 30 rounders because the 40 rounders are good, but I can carry more 30 rounders and have more ammo overall.
Okay.
The D60s, not a bad option, but you just better be prepared to discard it in a dump pouch and not be able to reload it quickly. Whereas your 40 rounders and your 30 rounders, you can just stuff rounds in there. I don't view the D60 as something you can reload under pressure or reload quickly. Now, there is another company called Desert Tech that made a wonderful lower and a wonderful magazine that holds 53 rounds, and it's a quad stack mag. And it was very promising, and it is a great system that runs very well from what I've seen. And I actually used it a little bit, had no problems with it. However, the president of their company had some members of his family. So before I get into that, coupled 40 rounders in the gun, 30 rounders in my rig, and then like in a bandolier, I'd probably have more 40 rounders. That, like, just keep it simple with the box mags. That's what I say. D60s are cool. Just be prepared that probably not going to be able to reload that quickly in the field. Now the Quattro, the president of that company had several members of his family get arrested for child sex trafficking.
Yep.
So even though that platform is amazing, the association of it, of that company, very unfortunate because it was a great leap forward for the auto rifle, but I had to sell it because I don't want to.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And to my knowledge, the president of the company is not directly involved in any of that. However, my personal experience as a police officer being involved in child trafficking investigations, it'd be one thing if other Mormons had been arrested. However, these were members of his family. And what we often find is the family members, if they weren't directly involved, they fucking knew about it and didn't say anything. Now, I'm also not saying that that's the case with him, but that's just my experience.
Yep. No, it's my experience as well. So it's definitely one of those. It's really hard to, it's awesome. Like seeing guys like you. We had Matt on the 1776 USA guy. That if you have principles, and unfortunately, sometimes it sucks to stick to them, but you got to stick to them.
It really did. And but the thing is, too, before I learned of this, I had ordered 18 mags from that group. Yeah, they were on back order, but I was like, fuck it. This is a great system. I want it. I dropped the money for 18 mags.
And they're pretty pricey, it looks like.
Yeah, they're pricey. They're cheaper than D60s. But yeah, that's right. Yes, they're about $40 a mag.
Well, still, I mean, so you got guys out there that's spending like $90 on a staccato mag, So
that's the best magazine in the world, apparently.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and I'm just going to go ahead and say it. If when it comes to misappropriating attention to something, if you own a staccato, you're a fucking retard. And I'll just leave it at that. I'll just go ahead and light that fire and say nothing more.
No, we beat that horse very well. You're talking to a guy who is like 90% of my carry is just like a J frame in a pocket. So I'm not doing anything fancy over here. So, and then we had on John AR Dynamics the other day, who shoots pretty competitively 1911s, and his sentiments are the exact same thing about staccato. So I feel like it was definitely a gun of its time of coming out, being a the 9mm double stack 1911s, and kind of being affordable for the everyday man. But now looking at it, it's kind of like, why?
I mean, you buy a $3,000 rifle, good for you, dude. You've got capability now. You've probably got the ability. Like you buy a $3,000 bolt gun, you've probably got the ability to shoot a gnat's ass at 800 yards. You buy a $3,000 pistol, you have the same velocity as my Glock.
Yep.
It like my $500 Glock versus your staccato. Everything that's good about the staccato is subjective. Oh, it feels nice in my hand. Oh, it shoots so smooth. Like that's all subjective bullshit.
It's the guy who was helping us run our range. He did that too. He went out and bought a staccato, and then he took it out to the range. He shot it like I think 3 or 4 mags of it. Kind of was like sad. He goes, "I shoot my 17 better than this. I don't know what I did."
Yeah,
and I think he promptly sold it.
I mean, yeah, investing that kind of money in a handgun. We carry handguns out of convenience, not because they're effective weapons.
Mm-hmm.
So spending that much money isn't going to change that. You know, don't go buy a dog shit cheap gun either, but like you don't got to spend $3,000 on a pistol.
Yeah. You should buy a Glock. Glock's superior.
Or a CZ.
No.
I mean, hey, yeah, CZs. I mean, if you want a CZ 75, not a bad option either. I would still choose Glock, but I will hand it to CZ. They make very tough, reliable pistols.
They make pistols. They make.
It depends on the model. If you're talking like the baseline 75 or the PO7, yeah, those are solid guns, and it's kind of been proven. So I can't really take anything away from CZ. But anything else, yeah, just get a Glock.
Just get a Glock. Wise words from a wise man.
Right on. Well, we really do appreciate you spending so much time this evening for us. We, as we normally do, as we start to wrap this up, I think Jefe kind of covered it already, but we always like to give the last 30 seconds, quote unquote, last 30 seconds to our guest to divulge some folksy wisdom on the crowd.
What's your dad advice?
Yeah, what's your dad advice? What's the one thing that you want to impart on our listeners? We'll just turn it over to you. What do you got?
Wasn't prepared for this.
Yeah, so, I should have told you ahead of time.
That's fun. That's like the reason why we do it.
Just don't be weak. Don't be weak. Train as hard as you can. Learn everything you can. Always assess what you're reading on the internet and who you're dealing with when you watch a video. You know, if you're trying to learn something from somebody. And yeah, man, that's about it.
Oh yeah,
I'm not a sage.
No. That's short, sweet, to the point, and I agree with it 100%. Jefe, what do you got? You got anything?
Aim low because you can't tourniquet their taints.
That's true. That is true.
As we started the show,
yep.
It's a meme that popped up on my page, or like before you. I'm like, oh, that's funny. And I read it out loud, and I didn't know we were recording. So
yep, no, that's good, and I'm keeping it in. Mine thing is do some cardio. I did mine today. I ran a 5K today, and it hurt.
Hell yeah!
I haven't ran in so long, so do cardio because I think it's the number one rule in Zombieland. It's cardio.
I think so.
I think so. So, but with that, again, we really do appreciate you jumping on. I know it's kind of short notice for you, and you're just like, yeah, let's do it. And I really do appreciate that. So
where can our people find you at?
Oh yeah, that's good point.
Just Instagram, night_fighter_0. YouTube, just Night Fighter. You'll probably have trouble finding it because I'm not a big page, and I'm probably also suppressed because I'm a gun page.
Yep.
So if you type in Night Fighter Auto Rifle, which is the main thing we talked about, you can probably find me that way. Night Fighter Auto Rifle. One of my videos will come up, and you can subscribe.
Yeah, and I'll have all of your information in the description of the podcast. So if you guys are not quick on writing stuff down, just open up the description and click the link, and you'll be pointed in the right direction at the very least. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. Again, thank you so much for joining us, and appreciate everybody listening. We'll catch you guys next time. Yeah, appreciate you. And we will catch everybody else on the next episode. So don't forget to live, laugh, and LARP. Take it easy, guys.